do your best to try to use their services because, one hand washes the other, and we need to support each other in this business because if we lose our sponsors on the things that we're doing, then we can't do the
Yeah.
things that we try to do. Right. So,
Right.
um,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's really not even just sponsorships. And we do sponsor some events, but a lot of it is we do a lot as a firm, we do a lot of education for realtors, such as FERPTA classes with CE. I actually do teach a class, and we have some others on tax for realtors. I know we'll talk about some of that stuff today. Also working with international investors as a realtor. So yes, it's not, and for me, Paul, and if, as a firm, we have so much experience working with realtors and investors that we know that a lot of times the realtors, hey, I'm looking for an accountant that specializes in this. We're typically the first ones that people mention, and we're thankful for that. Because we want to continue to grow that and help people.
well, that's great. That's
Certainly.
great. And in fact, I'll be using you this year myself, as we talked
Awesome.
about.
Right.
We've been a do-it-yourself type thing using TurboTax because pretty simple. But this year, our return is a little bit more complex, and we want to make sure, number one, that it's done right. Number two, that we've maximizing whatever we pay to Uncle Sam. We want to, all okay with paying our fair share. We just don't want to pay more than our fair share. And of course, we want to reduce our risk in potential audit. So that's where the services that you come into are going to be very beneficial. And I look forward to coming into your office and sitting down with one of your team members and getting all that squared away. So
Oh,
you touched upon FERT, and I've actually sat in probably twice in oh, and I forget her name. You got a great teacher for
Probably Nina Mills is
Nina.
the head of it. Basically, has been
Yep.
a big part of our firm for years in the FERPTA. We call her the FERPTA queen, just because she knows more about it than anyone, I think. So
Yeah, and it's really important for agents to understand that, right? Look, we don't have to know everything about FERPTA, but we need to know enough about it so that we can work and counsel those that are going to be required to deal with FERPTA because there's a lot of international buyers and sellers in our marketplace. So
yeah,
it doesn't
absolutely.
matter whether you're part of global or an international agent yourself, you're going to deal with buyers and sellers at some point that have to go through FERP and
Yeah.
make their filing and everything else. So you need to know enough about how to handle that and what you need to know. So,
Sure. Yeah. And for
um,
people who don't know what FERPTA is, and that if you have some new viewers, FERPTA stands for Foreign Investment Real Property Tax Act. In essence, whenever a non-US resident sells a property, and sometimes corporations as well, depending on the type, there's a requirement to withhold 15% of the proceeds back in case capital gains tax is due. It's not a tax itself, but it's withheld until the IRS decides, hey, this is how much you owe, and this is how much you get back, etc. One of the things, like you mentioned, Nina, I think one of her catchphrases, if I can get it right, is you don't have to know everything about FERPA. You just need to know who to call.
yeah,
And that's
that's right.
how we try and help people in that ways.
Yeah, so and that's good. And of course, you would be the one to call and say, "Hey, I've got, an international seller. How do we work with this?" Or
Right.
maybe, you're working with a buyer, but there's an international seller on the other end, and maybe they don't have a FERPTA disclosure uploaded to the MLS
Yeah.
yet. And you're like, what do I do here? Yeah, definitely,
Yeah.
good place to reach out and
Yeah.
get some more information.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. We've over the years we've seen pretty much everything you could think of when it comes to FERPTA regarding situations that arise, and a lot of times we've been in a good position that people will come to us many times after they may have used someone else for FERPTA, and either they weren't as experienced or things went south, they went wrong. We're typically able to sort those out because we've had such a long-standing relationship with the FERPTA department with the IRS, which, by the way, is very small. It's not a big department. Basically, our people know we have a whole department that's all they do is FERPA, and they know the agents in that department by names just because we work with them and we do so many transactions. And we probably do roughly right now, we do over 1,000 FERPA transactions a year at this point. So certainly our team has that experience in doing those. So
Well, that's great. And that's what you want is somebody that's experienced and it's got that that open door with the IRS, right? To make
yeah,
sure that things get executed. Because yeah, if they're working with a small crew there at the office, you know they're going to be backed up and it's going to take some time. So having the right people certainly is going to make a big,
Yeah.
big impact. So